Yo, what up? It's your boy Chris with the Ignorance is Free. Like always, thank you guys for your continued support. And if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to the channel. Now let's talk Joe Budden, all right? Because Joe Budden was on his podcast last night and he went ham on Charlamagne the God. And honestly, this is one rant that I can actually understand. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can at least understand why he did it. We all know when Buttons pops off, we have no idea what the fuck he's talking about, or at least why he's popping off, i.e. Drake. Okay, but with this, kind of makes a little bit of sense. Now, before I get into a few of the things that he said, a little bit of history as to why I think he did go off on Charlamagne. Now, if you don't know what I'm about to refer to, the links are in the description, so make sure you check that out. Now, Budden was on The Breakfast Club last year in October on the 13th, all right? And he did an interview, and throughout the interview, he was really talking about a Donkey of the Day he got. So Charlamagne gave Budden the Donkey of the Day, where basically, Budden was again talking shit on his podcast, talking about Meek Mill and Nicki Minaj. So, Charlamagne talked about that. He gave him Donkey of the Day for that. And he's basically saying, how the fuck you talking about other people's relationships when you're out here beating women? So we called him a woman beater. Right now, when Budden was on The Breakfast Club doing the actual interview and confronting Charlamagne about the Donkey of the Day, he was basically saying, look, nigga, you know me. You know what I mean? Like, if you have questions about any of these things that you're unsure of, like, I get you're just reporting what's in the media, but you can get clarification, or at least my side of the story. Why didn't you pick up the phone? Why didn't you call me? He also continues to say things like, yo, you went super hard at me and I didn't even really deserve it like that. You know what I mean? He's basically saying, like, other people who get the Donkey of the Day, who's done worse shit than me, you go kind of light on them because you kind of have ties with them and everything. But you know me, and you just completely obliterated me in that Donkey of the Day. So that's kind of, and when you watch this clip, and I really suggest you do, you could see, like, the frustration in Budden's face. And, like, you can see he's truly angry, right? So we fast forward to yesterday. All right. Now, Budden has the exact same platform as Charlamagne. Maybe not as large a platform, but same platform. Like, Charlamagne is a personality, and Budden's, to a certain extent, is also a personality. Right. So now he can get at Charlamagne. Right. So Budden's is a dope rapper. We know when he's battling, you can't really fuck with him. But Buttons can't do a rap or a diss song against Charlamagne. Charlamagne don't rap. It wouldn't make sense. So Buttons has this podcast platform that he can now talk and he can speak his mind just like Charlamagne. So on this podcast, he basically says things along the lines of this. Every time he opens his mouth about me, it lacks a lot of perspective. And that makes me think he's not as smart as I thought he once was. He also says he's privy to information and he should use it before he speaks. He then says something along the lines of, all a nigga has to do is send a couple of bottles before you start sucking dick. Again, obviously referencing that whole Drake thing, which to me makes him seem, it seems kind of salty. Like, again, I do understand where Budden is coming from with this whole thing. You know what I mean? With the whole Donkey of the Day and the Breakfast Club interview. So I don't know why he had to say that. But then he says it's ironic that he does Donkey of the Day and he's actually becoming a donkey himself. Then he comments on his skin tone and his body, which was kind of weird. He's basically, I don't know what the fuck that was about. But then he says, he's basically a puppet and he only tells the truth and Charlamagne could be bought. So pretty much, I don't know, man. Like, I want to know what you guys think about this whole beef. I don't know, let's even really call it a beef, but like, do you think that Budden is just reaching again? Or do you think that this is legitimate? I personally think it's a little bit of both, but I think it's out of 100%, I'd say it's probably 80% legitimate and like 20% reach. So definitely check out the clips. Like, the links are in the description. The link to this podcast that Buttons just did where he talks about Charlamagne is also in the description. So check him out. Before you comment, because what you think matters, before you comment, make sure you watch that Donkey of the Day and make sure you watch that Breakfast Club interview. You don't have to watch the whole interview. It's pretty lengthy, but like, as soon as the interview starts, like, Buttons goes right into the actual donkey of the day. So definitely check that out before you leave your comments, and make sure you guys like, man, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on all my social media at The Ignorance Is Free with a Z on Instagram, and on Twitter at I'm Chris Green. I'm out. Biatch.